Hello everyone, and welcome back to Project Epitome. So in this video, I will go over 20 tips updated for 2025 that will help streamline your second playthrough of Pokemon Legends Arceus. So let's get into it. So with the release of Pokemon Legends ZA later this year, I thought a lot of us would be going back and playing Legend Arceus in anticipation for that. These 20 tips will make that second playthrough a little less painful. Alright, so to get started, the first thing I'd have you do is go over to settings. By default, text speed is set to fast, which is good, but I would have you set autosave to disabled. If you're going to do any type of shiny hunting in this game, you're going to want to be able to control your saving. This is good for if you want to take nice clean screenshots. As you can see in the lower left and right, the HUD is up on the screen. If I just go ahead and press the analog stick here, so that allows you to take nice clean screenshots. You can also control the music, sound effects. I usually turn up Pokemon cries so it's easier to hear them, and then you can adjust the dynamic range as you see fit. The second tip involves the starter Pokemon. At the beginning of the game, when you're forced to choose one to do your first trial, don't worry about it at first, just because you get the opportunity to get the other two starters later on in the game. Tip number 3, which will actually save you a lot of time, is if you open the map, you can actually fast travel anywhere, even if you're in a town. So if I want to go from, the Galaxy Hall over to the farm, or from inside the Galaxy Hall to the front gate, you can do so. So tip number 4 is when you first start the game, if you come over here and you speak to Aneath, she will give you in-game items if you have save data for Sword and Shield, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and BDSP. Tip number 5, if you go over onto the training grounds, you can come over here to the right of it and speak to Lucille here. And she will offer you charms that make the game a little less daunting. So we have one for lose fewer items. That one costs 3,000. We have one for faint less frequently. That one will charge you $3,000 as well. We have one for stay in good health, which will cost you 500. Tip number 6, coming into your second playthrough on a brand new save file, is pretty straightforward. I would recommend completing research tasks as soon as you can. Obviously you don't want to grind these out all at once. I'm currently doing a playthrough where I finish every single Pokemon and perfect their research level before I leave the first area. But I don't recommend you do that. But I would keep on top of it as the game progresses, just because it makes it a lot easier later on. You don't want to have to go through and grind, 20, 30, 40 Pokemon. If you're going to be shiny hunting in the later game, your shiny chances go up whether you complete a Pokemon's research level or perfect it. So I should mention there are 2 types of research level completion. One here you'll see on Kadabra, it just says complete. I've reached level 10, did a couple things on him, but if I go down to Luxio here, you'll see that I've completed absolutely everything on his page. He has the perfect 10 out of 10 research level. So for tip number 8, if you come over to the Floreo Gardens, to the right of the Fieldlands camp, you can fight Beautiflies during the day and Dustoxes at night. This is a good way to level up. You can see they're at level 20, so it's really good for early game leveling. You can also see if we come right down here past Aspiration Hill, right next to Lake Verity, we can make our way over to Sangjim Flats. And over here you'll find some Pokemon that are higher level as well. You just go ahead and walk right past the Snorlax. He won't aggro you. So over here we have level 18 Luxios, as well as level 18 Staravias. And you can find a couple other strong spawns over here, like Kadabra, Abras, Luxrays, stuff like that. So tip number 9, I've not actually reached in this playthrough, but once you get to the Crimson Mirelands, you're going to see space-time distortions start coming up on the map. They're these bubbles that spawn rare Pokemon and items. My tip to you would be to pick up those rare items as much as you can. just because they are used to craft star pieces, which can be sold for lots of money later on in the game. So the next tip involves spoiled acorns. You'll see I have some in my hotbar in the lower right. These are an early game item, but they're great because they let you stun Pokemon, which makes battling and catching them a little easier. And I'll show you how to do it here on this Shinx. You just go ahead and hit him with it. And you see him get stunned. And then I can go up right behind him and catch him a lot quicker than I otherwise would. So for tip number 11, I would have you go back to Jubilife Village and fast travel over to the farm here. My tip would be to just keep an eye on this farm. You'll get a couple side quests over here, and once you do, it'll allow you to start planting things, growing things, which is a great source of income and resources earlier on in the game. So for tip number 12, I would just recommend doing all of your requests as soon as they come up. Here, if you go to the phone, to requests here, and this will show you all the side quests that you have currently accepted, all the current side quests that you've completed, and all the ones you still have to complete. I would just recommend doing these as soon as they come up, just because some of the rewards are early game rewards. Some of them will get better as they go, but you know, I don't want to be in late game and get, you know, a Vivichoke as a reward. So you just want to keep on top of these as they come, and that'll make it a little less grindy later on in the game as well. For this next tip, I'd have you head over here to Galaxy Hall and go left as soon as you come in. You can talk to Baggin, and once you've done enough requests, he will give you the option to upgrade your storage, which is invaluable in a game like this because you only get so many slots, and you'll be constantly running out of space. So this is super helpful. Tip 14 goes hand in hand with tip 7. I would just come into the Pokedex and make sure you're aware of your research level for each and every Pokemon that you come across. And I would get used to switching out your team members as often as possible, just because some of these things, like if you look at Cyndaquil here, I had to use Flame Wheel 15 times, and if I would have taken him out of my party, I might not have done that. So I would just get used to switching your team members out as often as possible. I wouldn't pick 6 Pokemon and run through the whole game with them. This game's not set up that way, so you'll want to be switching these out and completing research tasks as soon as possible. So tip 15 would just to be to keep an eye out for alpha Pokemon. You'll usually see them because of their size and their giant red eyes, but these are useful for money and experience points if you knock them out or catch them. Tip number 16 would be to rename your Pokemon based on their research tasks. So you'll see here I have my Typhlosion named Stragilover, which looks kind of funny, but I know I need strong style moves, I need agile style moves, and I need overheat to complete his research tasks. So if I go into his research task page here, you'll see I need to use overheat 25 times, 40 strong style moves, and 40 agile style moves. And this just makes it a little easier to keep track of the Pokemon that you're currently working on. Tip number 17 involves mass outbreaks. I currently haven't unlocked any in this playthrough, but there will be a time where you come to your map and you'll see a little picture of a Pokemon, and that'll mean that a couple of them, 10 to 20 of them, will spawn in an outbreak. These are super good for not only completing research task levels, but also just catching Pokemon that you don't have normally, or shiny hunting. Tip number 18 would be keep track of your star member ranking. If you pull up your Pokedex here, it'll show it in the lower left. You can see I'm 5 stars now. Usually with each new star, you unlock a new type of Pokeball and a new item to craft. A good thing to note, the best Pokeballs in the game, Jet Balls, unlock when you have 8 stars. So tip number 19 would just be to make sure that you're collecting all of the material nodes as you see them. You're going to need a whole lot of them in the beginning of the game. Later on, it's not so important just because you can start buying Pokeballs. But for early game, you definitely want to make sure you're picking up each and every item off the ground as you go. My 20th and final tip would just be to mainline the story. This is your second playthrough, and the sooner you get ride Pokemon, the easier the game will go. As I mentioned before, I'm doing a shiny only run where I try to complete each and every Pokemon's research levels before I leave the area. But you don't have to do this. In fact, I wouldn't recommend it for most people. I would go straight through the story nodes, at least until you get Weirdeer or any other ride Pokemon. That'll make the game a lot quicker. If you're going for 100% completion, I guess it really doesn't matter. but I would still try to get ride Pokemon as early as possible. This will make completing research tasks that much simpler. And with that, those are the 20 tips that I would use on my second playthrough of Pokemon Legends Arceus to make the game a little less stressful. If you liked the video or you have any constructive criticism for me on how I can make these videos better, just leave them down in the comments for me. I really appreciate it. And until next time, have fun gaming. Goodbye.